Alright, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Nick, as always, you can call me Touch Ninja, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a technology review. I'm going to be reviewing this keyboard as well as this mouse. So this is the Logitech G613 mechanical wireless keyboard, and this is the Logitech G603 wireless mouse. Not only will I be reviewing them, I will actually also be giving them away. So stay tuned to the end of the video to find out more. Alright, so before we begin the review, I absolutely hate doing this whole FTC thing, but because some YouTubers and influencers screwed up, now we all have to pay for it. But anyway, so FTC regulation states that this keyboard mouse was actually not purchased by myself. It was sent to me by the nice people over at Logitech to review. I am not getting paid any sort of compensation for my video. I'm not getting paid anything on the side. All I get to do is just get their product, review it. I get to keep it, but in this case, I'm actually going to be giving it away. So yeah, that's it. That's all it. No shady business. So keyboard mouse videos and reviews are really difficult to do on YouTube because keyboard and mouse is all about feel. Everyone has different shaped hands, they type differently, they hold their mouse differently. So I can't 100% recommend a product for you guys because, like I said, everyone's different. The only thing I can do for you guys is basically give you guys performance impressions, so how good the sensor is, the build quality of the products, and that's basically it. And then you have to find out by yourself. I recommend before you purchase any keyboard mouse, if you're kind of looking around, try to find a store that you can go into that has like a display of them, and if hopefully the one that you're looking for might have a display that you can actually try it out firsthand in person. Also, before we begin, I think that it's really important to establish a baseline of what I've been using for pretty much the last 4 or 5 years now, because that'll give you an idea of kind of where my opinions are coming from. So if you guys have been following me for a while now with my setup videos as well as my Instagram, you guys might know what I've been using. So for the last 5 years now, I've been using the exact same keyboard. I've been using the Ducky Shine 2, I think. I actually unboxed this keyboard on the channel like many years ago, back when I was still living in a very small apartment. I still absolutely love it. It features cherry MX brown switches as well as a backlit red LED. Not that any of that fancy RGB stuff these days, but it's still backlit and it's cherry MX brown, which is my favorite cherry MX switch at the moment. In terms of a mouse, for the last 3 or 4 years now, I've been using the Asus ROG Gladius. I absolutely love it. The only thing different now is that the scroll wheel is getting a little bit worn. I was actually in the market for a brand new mouse. I'm really heavy on all the products, so anytime I can get like 3 years out of anything, I'm really happy with. But the sensor still works great. It's just that the scroll wheel is getting a little wonky. So yeah, this review almost came at a perfect time. Alright, so let me start off first by saying that I absolutely loathe the test. It feels gross to type with. I hate cherry MX red switches. I've tried them. I actually bought the original Corsair K70. Although it was a beautiful keyboard, it had cherry MX red switches, and I just ended up giving it to my fiance for her to use now because I just couldn't stand typing on them. It felt so unsatisfying. I detest the movement. So it's been a really difficult time for me to find a new keyboard because I was in the market for a new keyboard as of late. I was trying to find a 10 keyless brown with RGB, and it was just so difficult to find. Then Logitech said, we have this keyboard if you want to try, and then I was like, yeah, let's see. Because Logitech has their own proprietary key cap movement. They call it the G-Roamer switch, and I had never heard about it before. It's been many, many years since I've actually owned a Logitech keyboard, so I thought I'd give it a try. And to be honest, I can honestly say that the G-Roamer switch is probably my most favorite keyboard movement to date. I don't know if you guys can hear it. In terms of feel, it feels almost exactly like a cherry MX brown, which is right down my alley. The only difference between this one and a brown, based on my personal feel, is that the actuation point, or rather the distance of how far you have to press, is just a tiny bit shorter than a brown. So it feels good to type with. You just don't have to press as far, and that's like at the absolute sweet spot personally, in my personal opinion. It still feels satisfying to type, but you still get that a little bit of extra speed. So that's probably the best thing that I like about this keyboard and what I like about it. But in terms of design, there are a lot of things that I honestly don't like about it. Alright, so before we begin the review, let's go over quickly the feature set of this keyboard. So, on the top right hand corner, we have some media buttons, the standard volume, mute, fast forward, pause, and all that good stuff. They have a nice satisfying click to them, if you guys can hear it. So they feel good to press. They didn't cheap out and make these top right ones mushy, which is a nice thing. As well, you have a Bluetooth button right here with the Wi-Fi signal. We'll get to that a little bit later. And then you have 6 macros on the far left hand side highlighted in blue. Then you have your standard numpad on the far right. On the side of the keyboard, you have an on-off switch. So if you're carrying it around or you want to conserve battery life, you can quickly turn on and off. It's powered by 2 AA batteries, so it's pretty standard. And if we flip it to the back, we have on the bottom 3 rubber strips to make sure that your keyboard doesn't slide around while it's on the desk, as well as some keyboard stands which also have rubber feet to once again make sure that nothing is slippy and slidey. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty standard. It has a number pad on the far right hand side, which is probably something that I'm not a huge fan of. I think that when you're designing a product, especially a new one, it's really important to consider the marketplace for where you think it's going to be used. So, personally, in my opinion, I think this would have been suited more since it's the world's first wireless mechanical keyboard. I think that it would have been really suited as a TKL, 10 keyless version, because if you think about it, the person who would be wanting to buy a wireless keyboard is probably lugging around either through a LAN party or passing it around in the office to kind of go through a presentation or something. And it would make more sense if you have something a little bit more compact. And that goes for the wrist rest as well. So this keyboard does have a wrist rest, which a lot of people would be happy about. But personally myself, I don't use a wrist rest when I type. And as well, it would have been nice if they would have given you the option for it being detachable. This is permanently stuck on there. There's no way to take it off. Once again, it just kind of goes back to that whole knowing where it's going to be used. And to me, like I said, this type of a wireless keyboard is more suited as something that's supposed to be portable. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think I'm kind of on the same mindset of when you would use a wireless keyboard. Most negative complaint about this keyboard is that the keys are simply just stickers. They are not laser etched at all, which I think is kind of, I understand the purpose of keeping costs down, but when you consider some of like the cheapest keyboards, mechanical keyboards that you can buy on the market for like 25, 30 bucks, those have laser etched keys. So I don't think there's really an excuse there, in my personal opinion, why they didn't include laser etched keys on this keyboard. There's no backlit or the new craze of the RGB, which makes sense perfectly because if you have backlit keys, then most likely it's gonna consume more batteries, then you gotta be swapping out your batteries more often, which makes perfect sense. But maybe if they would have given you the option of plugging it in or running it wirelessly, and then while it's plugged in to have the RGB effects, that would just kind of broaden the market and the appeal of this keyboard. But probably, like I said, my biggest complaint is most likely the fact that this doesn't have laser etch keys. Another thing that I wasn't really a huge fan of this keyboard is that it had like a little bit more flex than I was used to, especially when you put it up on its feet and stand it up on an angle. You can really, as you're typing, kind of feel the flex of the keyboard. That might be because I've been so used to using a Ducky keyboard for 3 or 4 years now, and a Ducky keyboard is like built with like a tank. It has like almost zero flex to it, and you can literally beat someone over the head to death with the Ducky keyboard. How solid they're built. Another cool feature about this keyboard is that it comes with a cell phone stand that has the Logitech logo on the front. And it's not just for the lulz, it actually serves the purpose. So you can actually connect your keyboard to your cell phone wirelessly via Bluetooth, via this quick change button right here. Remember that Bluetooth button that I told you guys about at the very beginning? So after you paired your keyboard to your cell phone, you can basically type on your keyboard or your cell phone using your keyboard. And when you want to swap back to your computer, all you have to do is hit the wireless button. And once again, you just resume your normal use. So it's a cool feature if you're one of those people who has their cell phone by the desk and you want to type long love messages to your dogs. All right, so let's move on to the mouse. So the Logitech G603. And I'm not bullshitting you, this is probably the most accurate and satisfying mouse sensor that I have ever used, like ever. And that might be because I've used such an older mouse for so long, but immediately when I plugged it in, it was just like, it was so deadly accurate. And probably the biggest difference that I noticed is that the tracing was just so much smoother than what I've used to. So I use a triple monitor setup for editing as well as gaming. So when I was tracing from the far left all the way to the far right, it just felt so much better than my ROG Gladius. And like I said, it might be because this has like more of an outdated sensor to it because it's like 3 years old now. But yeah, it was such a night and day difference that it felt so good. It actually kind of makes me a little bit sad that I'm giving away because I did enjoy my time using it. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna talk about the sensor. So like I said earlier, I was under the impression we've reached the wall of sensors like years ago, and it was like farthest from the truth. So this ROG Gladius that I've been using for 3 years now uses a sensor called, I brought it up here because I didn't memorize it, uses the sensor called the ADNS S3988 sensor. I think that the newer version, the ROG Gladius 2, moved to the new PixArt sensor, which is the same one the Razer Death Adder 4G uses. This is all boring technical stuff, but yeah, anyways. But the Logitech G603 uses actually proprietary, their own sensor. It's called, let me bring this up, the PMW366. Which is the sensor that they are only allowed to use, and I have no experience with the PWM3310, but I can just say, based on my research, for the most part, the internet agrees that the 3366 is the most accurate movement on the planet right now that you can buy. So yeah, but there are some things, although I absolutely love the sensor in terms of build quality, there are things that I would like change a tiny bit. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So this thing is powered to change the batteries. You just actually pull off the top. It somewhat concerned me how easily this was able to tear apart. But for using it for about a month now, I've gotten used to it. It's a little bit lighter than I would have preferred. I would prefer a little bit more weight to my mouse. But some people do like the lighter mouse for fast travel. One cool feature is that it doesn't actually require 2 AA batteries to work. You can power it with a single AA battery, but if you want backup power, or you want if you even want an even lighter mouse, you can remove 1 battery, which is cool. And then at the very bottom, you have the slot. If you decide to take this thing to a LAN party, there is a slot that you can permanently or temporarily place the very easily losable USB that you plug into the computer. This thing does have Bluetooth capability as well. Most PCs and laptops these days have Bluetooth capabilities, so even if you lose the USB stick thing, then you still have the option of attaching it Bluetooth to your PCs. And yeah, pretty much the scroll wheel is very smooth, works well. The right and left mouse click are very satisfying, and then it has your standard 2 quick buttons on the left hand side. It is a mouse designed for right-handed people, so if you are a left-handed person, this mouse probably will not suit you. If you were a left-handed person, I would recommend, based on my experience of mouses, I do recommend the SteelSeries Sensei Raw Edition. That is an ambidextrous mouse. That's the only ambidextrous mouse I have any sort of experience with and that I actually like. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for my review of the Logitech G613 mechanical wireless keyboard, as well as the G603 wireless mouse by Logitech. And like I said, wasn't 100% fan of the overall feel of the keyboard, even though I did love the G-Roamer key switches. Once again, they are definitely probably my favorite switches to date, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed my time with the G603, so much that I ended up buying Logitech's flagship mouse, which is, once again, probably the nicest thing that you can say about a company when you try out their products. And I'll actually be giving away both of these things, and the reason why is because I pretty much have already settled on what my new keyboard and mouse will be for my new build. So once again, using the G903 from Logitech, and I decided to, once again, despite the fact that I do like the G-Roamer switches better than Cherry MX Brown, I went with another Ducky keyboard just because of brand loyalty. And I like having weird things that not a lot of people have, and I know the Ducky brand well. They're solidly built keyboards. This one has RGB effects, Cherry MX Brown, even though I wish they were G-Roamer, but you can't have it all these days. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you want to win the keyboard and mouse that I just reviewed, there is a contest link in the description that you should check out. There are various ways for you to enter. So good luck to everyone out there. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy the review. Leave your thoughts, queries, comments in the bottom. I'll try to reply to as many of them as possible. Until then, like I said, thank you guys for watching. And as always, have a fantastic day.